I've seen the northern lights, the pretty sights, high in the atmosphere. And I've earned my stripes and I've learned how to fight. Now I've got nothing to fear. And the sun's spitting rocks, I'm flying a nighthawk, faster than the speed of sound. Way down below, everything seems slow, and I never wanna touch down. Shake down, we're going steady. Shake down, people get ready. Shake down, we're going steady now. Yes, I learned how to walk, then I learned how to talk, then I looked up to the sky. No more trial runs, rehearsals are done. It is time to fly. Shake down, we're going steady. Shake down, people get ready. Shake down, we're going steady now. Shake down, we're going steady. Shake down, people get ready. Shake down, we're going steady now. Yes, I'll know where I'm at, won't be lost in combat. I'll be coming home when I touch down and the wheels hit the ground and the engine starts to grow. Shake down, we're going steady. Shake down, people get ready. Shake down, we're going steady now. Shake down, we're going steady. Shake down, people get ready. Shake down, we're going steady now.
Carrie and team. This is Leo from Exicure. Hey, Brendan, saw your chat. Looks like there's an administrator privilege, so I can't.
Don't want X-rays, just want you to hear me say, I've lost my way, won't you stay with me a while? I've lost my way, won't you stay with me a while? Mouth is dry, legs weak, eyes running like a creek. On a scale of 1 to 10, please don't ask me that again. Well, maybe St. Mary, help me carry every pound. If I get up, is my head spinning, or am I just looking around? I've lost my way, won't you stay with me a while? I've lost my way, won't you stay with me a while? I've lost my way, won't you stay with me a while? I've lost my way, won't you stay with me a while? I've lost my way, won't you stay with me a while? I've lost my way, won't you stay?
Hey, Leo.
Hey, Carrie, how's it going?
Good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started because it looks like we have quite a good number of attendees.
Hang on, I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Leo?
Doing great. We are so excited to have you and the team here.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
No, it's our pleasure. It's a bit of a circus here as far as meetings go. So if you wouldn't mind just giving my colleagues maybe another minute here, then we can get into it.
Yeah, no problem. We're happy to wait. We have a good program in store for you all today.
Oh, you know what? I was looking at the panelists and only seeing 6 people, then saw the broader attendee list.
Oh,
Looks like,
a sigh of relief.
The crew has assembled. Yeah, no, I think I'm happy declaring over 40 as a quorum. If you want to jump in, I think we'd be excited to get started.
Awesome. Okay, we'll take it away. Good afternoon, Rare Rock Stars of Exicure. And you are the real Rare Rock Stars for rare disease, committing yourselves to advancing treatments and cures for patients living with very limited options, if any at all. Welcome to our musical vision for rare disease. Thank you, David and Leo, for this opportunity today. We hope that today's program will inspire you. My name is Carrie Hughes, and I am the founder of Harmony for Hope. While you waited for this program to begin, you hopefully saw our slides showing the overwhelming statistics of rare disease. Statistics like 7,000 different rare diseases that exist, and that number is growing by the day, affecting more than 350 million people worldwide and 175 million of those people are children, 35% of whom will not live to see their 5th birthday. According to the 2013 Rare Disease Impact Report, on average, the diagnosis of rare conditions requires 2 to 3 misdiagnoses, visits to 7 or 8 different doctors, and an eventual diagnosis can take almost 5 years. Many patients never are accurately diagnosed. Behind these numbers are the personal and true stories of real people and their families. And this is the reason that Harmony for Hope is here with you today. Harmony for Hope Rare Storytellers is a rapidly growing network of patients and families associated with rare disease. This organically grown team is educating and inspiring healthcare professionals on the challenges faced by these individuals. Through corporate sponsorship of our programming, we raise funds to support these endeavors and award grants for scientific research in this space. So thank you, Exicure, for helping us achieve that end with your generous sponsorship of this event today. Today marks approximately the 40th installment of our Rare Storytellers program and our first virtual delivery. We have over 24 storytellers in our network. Since 2018, over 5,000 people have attended our seminars, either live or online. We have quickly raised over $100,000 to support our newly launched grant program. We have awarded tens of thousands of dollars to rare disease scientific discoveries at both Rush University Medical Center and most recently, the Genomic Science and Precision Medicine Center at the Medical College of Wisconsin. We have shared our programming on Capitol Hill with US congressional staff. We are most proudly, very proudly, serving as an amplifier for the voices of rare disease patients. The mission of Harmony for Hope is to merge music and storytelling, 2 very powerful tools, to shine the spotlight on these personal narratives, to fuel external scientific discoveries, to educate community, and uplift children and families through music. We do have one request of you today. Since this is our first virtual delivery, we are asking for your constructive feedback. If you could please take a moment after our event to take our survey so that we can fine-tune our virtual gigs and keep this show on the road, so to speak. It is now my pleasure to introduce our key players in today's event. Kicking things off will be musical ambassador and tunesmith Trapper Shep, who has been traveling with the Harmony for Hope band since 2012, supporting our vision of music uniting people for rare disease. Closing the event today with question and answer will be scientific advisor and Harmony for Hope rock doc, Phil Chaikin. Dr. Chaikin is an internationally recognized expert in global drug development and regulatory strategy. He currently maintains an active consulting practice and has supported many pharmaceutical and biotech companies. Phil spent over 30 years in pharma R&D. A former guitar player in bands during the 1960s, plus a career as a research clinical pharmacologist, Phil brings his love of music and his interest in rare diseases to help further the strategic objectives of Harmony for Hope. And center stage today will be Rare Storyteller, David Kennicott. David will be sharing his family's journey with late infantile Batten disease. An extraordinary dad and the founder of Hope for Bridget, I consider both Dave and his wife Sarah a very special part of our team, as their daughter Bridget inspires the mission of our organization. So without further ado, we're going to drop the needle or push play, download today's programming with a live music infusion from our very own troubadour, Trapper Shep. Take it away, Trap.
Good afternoon to all. Thank you, Carrie, for welcoming me to this virtual edition of the Harmony Hope Rare Storytellers series. My name is Trapper Shep. This is my brother Tanner Shep joining us today. An important part of music is the escapism it can provide. I've had chronic back pain since I was about 15 years old, and music has been a great source of joy and a bit of medicine in my life. So Harmony for Hope uses music as a theme throughout its years of fundraising and events for rare disease research. So we are going to kick this one off today. This one by the Traveling Wilburys, about taking care of each other. It's called Handle with Care.
Been beat up and battered around, been sent up and I've been shot down. You're the best thing that I've ever found. Handle me with care. Reputations changeable, situations tolerable. Baby, you're adorable. Handle me with care. I'm so tired of being lonely. I still have some love to give. Won't you show me that you really care? Everybody's got somebody to lean on. Put your body next to mine. Dream on. I've been fobbed off and I've been fooled. I've been robbed and ridiculed. Daycare centers and night schools. Handle me with care. Stuck in airports, terrorized. Sent to meetings, hypnotized. Overexposed, commercialized. Handle me with care. I'm so tired of being lonely. I still have some love to give. Won't you show me that you really care? Everybody's got somebody to lean on. Put your body next to mine and dream on. I've been outside and made a mess. I'll clean it up myself, I guess. Oh, the sweet smell of success. Handle me with care.
All right, that was Handle with Care by the Traveling Wilburys. We're going to do one I published with a member of the Wilburys. His name is Bob Dylan, and he started this song when he was 20 years old in 1961 in New York City. And even though Harmony for Hope is an Illinois organization, I think they'll let us do it today. As Carrie said, we've done events in Illinois, we've done events in Wisconsin, and we've even taken it to Washington, D.C., where we met with members of Congress to let them know how important it is to keep the funding and scientific research going for rare diseases. So we're going to do a little bit of this one here that I published with Bob Dylan. It's called On Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin is a dairy state. Guess you all know it well. I was in Wauwatosa. The truth I will tell. It's a milk and cheese and cream. Yes, I've known it all my days. And I'm going to my hometown. I'm leaving right away. I'm headed to Wisconsin. 2,000 miles to go. Madison, Milwaukee, sets my heart aglow. I'm headed to that state and my heart's beating fast. And I'll jerk my banjo gently and twiddle my mustache on Wisconsin. On Wisconsin, it's calling me that way. On Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, I think I'm going to stay. Yes, there's thoughts I left there long ago. Ones are coming now, it seems. I'll tune my banjo in the hills, feast on milk and cream, and I'll stamp my foot through the grass. I'll never know or care. Yes, my home's in Wisconsin, and I'm going there. On Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, it's calling me that way. On Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, I think I'm going to stay. Yes, you people with your city ways are driving me insane to drink. Yes, my home's in Wisconsin. It's a better place, I think. I have been to California and I've been all around, but my home's in Wisconsin. I'm gonna own this town. On Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, it's calling me that way. On Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, I think I'm going to stay. Yes, I might as well stay.
Yeah, you are tuned in to the virtual edition, I believe, the first virtual edition of the Harmony for Hope Rare Storytellers series. I'm going to turn it over now to Leo Smith at Exicure. I will be playing a few more songs on the way out today, so stay tuned for that, and thank you again, everybody, for tuning in.
Wow. So I'll be brief because our team doesn't want to hear from me. They want to hear from all of you. But just 3 quick points here. First, Trapper Chef, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the performance. I'm looking forward to getting more in a little bit here. 2 more just quick things to Carrie and team. I want to touch on the importance of the work that you are doing and why we are so excited about the work that we are doing here at Exicure. So first, I want to encourage all of you, Carrie and team, to keep it up. Your voice matters. It's not just a nice to have for drug development. It truly is a need to have. Carrie, before your rock stars took the stage, you really spoke the truth about the challenge of rare diseases, which really are very special. The information that we need to make good drugs isn't readily available. So it's essential that we hear from and collect the information we need from patients and families. Before COVID took over and we were able to attend conferences, one of the recent ones we were at was an ataxia conference that was filled with physicians, scientists, and patients. And the keynote speakers, who were both physicians and patients, I'll never forget, they were speaking to the initial Duchenne's muscular dystrophy trials, where they used the 6-minute walk test to evaluate endpoints. And the main keynote message was, who cares? This isn't what patients want. It most certainly isn't what we need. And this isn't the way to evaluate whether a drug is working well or not, or really improving quality of life. So, now I think the drug development community is doing a much better job of truly collaborating with patients and advocacy groups to design drugs and evaluate them in meaningful, robust trials. And this is directly because of the patient voice. So I will again encourage you to keep making yourselves heard. Secondly, and just to quickly, touch on Exicure, we're all very excited about the work that we're doing here. Our story started with the promise to unlock nucleic acids through local application. So rather than infusing them where they would all go to the liver, and the early drugs being made here would predictably go after liver diseases, we were excited to apply them in local ways. So we started with skin and cancer, which we're very excited about. But we are equally excited to be getting into rare brain diseases where, as we know, the unmet need is truly great. We are very excited that we recently announced our first neuro indication is a rare disease, Friedreich's ataxia. And an essential part of this drug development process is working closely with FARA, the Friedreich's Ataxia Research Alliance, every step of the way. It's not something where we talk to them at the end or talk to them just at the beginning. They are truly our partners in this, and their existence is one of the main reasons why we selected FA as our first neuro indication. So we are actively exploring Batten's disease, and again, we will encourage you to keep spreading the word about rare diseases in what are truly very unique and fun and creative ways. So with that, I don't want to consume too much bandwidth here. So Carrie, you want to introduce Dave and keep moving it?
Yes, thank you so much, Leo, for those words of encouragement. During these times, it's hard to stay focused, and so those words mean everything to our organization. And I would like to move the program forward and introduce you to my friend and colleague in rare disease, David Kennicott.
Thank you for having me, Carrie. Thank you, Exicure, for putting on this event. We're very happy to be here to talk with you guys and do a little presentation on what we went through with our daughter, Bridget. I'm going to pull this up here. Let's see, get it all going. Is everybody, let's see here. Okay. All right, so this is my daughter, Bridget. And Bridget had CLN2, Batten disease. She was diagnosed when she was 4 years old. And, all right, sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty on my screen. There we go. So Bridget was born November 11th, 2004. Everything looked normal. Everything was fine. Everything, I had a son. We're a happy, big, happy family. And, growing up, turning 1, turning 2, totally normal time, very energetic little girl, very happy, endearing, fearless with everything. Very, my wife obviously did part of this PowerPoint, and I would have put exhausting in there because she was an exhausting child to chase around and loving, just loved to run, loved to play. And, when she turned 3, it was totally normal. And that's when things started to change a little bit. In January of 2008, Bridget had her first seizure, and I was out of town, or I was downtown, and my wife called me and said, there's something going on. Called an ambulance, raced out to the hospital, went to the ER doc. They classified it as a febrile seizure. Kind of, okay, we believe it. She had a little bit of fever. Sent us home that night. We went on to, March. Later in February, she had another seizure. We thought, okay, something's a little bit different. We got in to see a neurologist. And this is a path that almost every Batten family I've dealt with has done. You go to meet with a neurologist. They come up with maybe try some meds, maybe try certain things. We did an MRI. We did EEGs and everything. And the brain looked normal. The EGs looked a little bit suspect. In March, when she had a much bigger 14-minute long grand mal seizure, we got in to see a different neurologist, and he went in, looked at all the EGs, did an additional MRI, and classified it under the epilepsy umbrella. And during that time, we, the doctor said, look, we've seen this before. We know what to do. We're going to try her on meds. And if any of you, and you guys probably know this, when you go on a lot of these meds, you have to slowly build up to get to therapeutic levels. And then we saw some things we didn't like, so then we had to slowly bring her back down. So there's quite a bit of time of trying to get that medication cocktail developed that it worked for her. And in going to a appointment later in that fall, we met with our doctor, and my wife and I walked out of that doctor's appointment kind of feeling a little funny and not feeling like we knew what we wanted to have, or what we wanted to do here, what we had to deal with. So, we're seeing doctors, we're doing this. We then got into a Rush University, see the head of epileptology, Dr. Michael Smith. And it was amazing, the difference in care. Within 2 appointments, he said, this is genetic. We're going to do some genetic tests. We need you to come in, and we're going to do a lumbar punch, a muscle biopsy, a skin biopsy. And they did that. And within a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, we got a call that in the muscle biopsy, they showed irregularity in the cells, which showed that she had some type of NCL, and that we were going to do a couple blood tests to really get down to where or what type of NCL it was. And of course, at the time, we all go on the internet, we start searching, we're like, well, we don't want that disease. We don't want this one. We don't want that one. And lo and behold, we get diagnosed on April 20th of 2009, 15 months after our first seizure, which, like Carrie said, a lot of people take 5 years to get a diagnosis. In the Batten world, I've never heard of anybody really getting a diagnosis inside of a year, and it's always been a year to year and a half, 2 years or longer, depending on where they live, because the knowing about this disease was really not very well publicized and well known because it is such a rare disease. So there's, currently, so she has CLN2. There's, which is also late infantile. It's got multiple names. There are 14 different types of Batten disease, which I think you, Exicure, you've looked at CLN3 in the past and are looking at other ones. So Bridget is deficient in a TP1 enzyme, and symptoms range from everything from loss of eyesight, seizures, loss of fine motor skills, and they develop into the inability to eat and drink by mouth, inability to walk without help. So, and this is at the same time we decided to start our foundation right away, because we thought we need to raise money to possibly get a treatment, to get Bridget into a treatment, into a trial, because that was kind of the thing at that time. This is back in 2009, so it's a little bit different now, but we were thinking we had to raise $1 million. We were talking to other families, you got to raise money to get into this trial. And so we started raising money for that and for awareness of Batten disease. And so we started our big journey. And that's when we found out that we had to learn a whole new world of science that normal parents, my wife's a teacher, I'm in the aviation leasing business world. And we had to learn a lot of new terms and new things to look at, which you guys all take and deal with that on a daily basis. But we started to educate ourselves in a major, in a very quick way. And I started going to conferences with our family or with other families and meeting scientists and trying to figure out what we could do as foundations. So after our diagnosis, our lives changed quite a bit. You get into, Bridget, by the time she turned 5, she had a feeding tube. We had to have, as you can see with the picture here, a chest compression because she was unable to move fluids. We had suction devices. We had to get bachelors. We had to re-outfit our house. There's a lot of things that come that you don't think about, and you got to constantly track. We had physical therapists coming to our home going to her school. We were lucky enough to have palliative care. Palliative care was huge for us. We had a nurse that worked with us, with Bridget on a daily basis, and she actually has seen probably upwards of 9 different Batten patients over the years, and she didn't realize that they were all the same type of disease. We've had some scientists that have loved to turn her ear and to talk about what she's dealt with in her career. Almost right away, we started fundraising, everything from readathons to we have an annual event this year, or every year, that we do with our partner foundation. We've partnered, so we were with multiple 501c3s over the years. In 2015, we decided we got to do this ourselves, but then we partnered with friends of ours who had 2 kids with Batten disease down in Downers Grove. We're in the Barrington area. We're hitting the same people. We started to partner together. So Noah's Hope, Hope for Bridget merged, and we increased our donations and our fundraising immensely. But we've worked with them for years, since the beginning. Some of the projects we've done over the years, we've done many projects, from everything drug purposing, biomarkers. We've developed mice for testing. We've immunotolerant mice, different, we've done sleep studies. We've done, cord pathology on mice. We were very instrumental in, I don't know if you know about the Brineura trial, this with CLN2, BioMarin's project. We were very instrumental with them to a point where back in 2010, Tracy Van Houten from Noah's Hope, Hope for Bridget, or Noah's Hope, we were together at a conference a lysosomal conference down in Miami, and we met with BioMarin, and they said they're out of Batten disease. They didn't think Batten disease had the numbers out there to continue doing work in that field. And Tracy and I and one other father, we sat down with our laptops and we brainstormed, and we whipped out a list of names and people we knew all over the world, all over the country, and went back to them later that night, mostly probably at a cocktail function, and cornered them and said, look, here's our list. And he was shocked. And they said, okay, we're going to relook at this. And they kept going. And, 9 years later, or 7 years later, they have a treatment, which is pretty amazing. And we were involved with them along the way, meeting with scientists and discussing what we knew about it, what we needed, and what their trial would look like, and what the families would need support-wise. We've gone to many meetings with BioMarin on that, so we're kind of proud of that. Advocacy, we've kind of chased around the country, going to rare disease events, to going to, celebrating National Batten Disease Day, working with our national organization. We've backed that conference so that other Batten families can go to our annual conference that normally wouldn't, because of costs to get their kids there with special needs and everything. We hosted one last year that I know a couple of you from Exicure attended, the Translational Research Conference in Lombard, Illinois, and we're happy you guys were able to join us there. We've done that every year. Families have privately set this up. We've done it for every other year. We've done 5 or 6 of them. And they used to be out at the NIH, and we moved it here locally to coincide with our annual event that we had the next night. And lots of other community events we've done over the years. So in February of 2017, Bridget was hospitalized, which, like every winter for the past 5 years, we've had her hospitalized for. It usually turned into some variation of pneumonia. With kids with Batten disease and respiratory breathing issues, they have complications like that. It's normal. And every spring, usually we got hit, and we took her to the hospital, and we'd go in there and we'd explain to them about Batten disease, because they had no idea about it. And we would always spend at least a week in the hospital. Anyway, and so we were there in February of 2017, thought we had everything going right. And it was, Bridget was feeling good. Her numbers were getting better. And on February 17th, I was in the car driving my son to school, and I got a phone call. Bridget turned for the worse. And to get here now, my wife didn't know what to do. And I said, all right, I'm gonna race to the hospital. And I grabbed my son and we raced to the hospital. And I do mean race. We might have broken a few laws. Come flying down the hallway to find that Bridget had been intubated and was struggling to live. And it was at that moment that Sarah and I made a decision that no parent should ever have to do, that we decided we got to stop prolonging what is God's plan for Bridget. She was 12 years old, 3 months, in a few days. Nobody's counting. We called all of our family, get them to the hospital, come say your goodbyes. Today's going to be the day. And everybody in my family, which is pretty large, and Sarah's family was all there. And we were caregivers that had worked with Bridget over the years. Everybody came to the hospital. And by 12:46 that day, our daughter became our angel. So after about 2 months later, we get a call that the FDA has just approved the Brimira treatment that we've been working on for many, many years. And we knew that it was never going to be something that our kids would be eligible to get into. Because like Leo had said, some of these testing parameters for kids to get into these tests of walking and being able to swallow and being able to do various things depending on the disease, our kids were never going to get. But that has never kept us from pushing along and looking deep for a cure, and going up to scientists and saying, what do you guys need? What do you need? So now today we have a treatment with Brimira where kids are getting treated every 2 weeks, and that's every 2 weeks for the rest of their life through a catheter in the brain. They get a transfusion, and we know many kids that are on it, and their kids have not progressed in the disease like our kids would have at their age, and we are so proud of that. But a treatment is not a cure, and a cure is what we're pushing for, and we keep pushing the scientific world to find a cure for CLN2, and we do not plan on stopping for this, or stopping at this time just because our children have passed away. As you can see by this picture here, on the right, we started off with, my daughter's was into the pink, and as in life and now in death, that was the evening she passed away, and the skies lit up in February, bright pink. It was 70 degrees. We just knew at that moment that our daughter had made it to Heaven's Gate and was looking down on us, and that's about it. So I guess we can take questions now, if anyone would have any questions. And Dr. Chaikin will be moderating this point.
Can you see me? Trying to expand my screen here. Or hear me?
I can hear you and see you, Dr. Chaikin.
Okay, I guess it'll just stay in a small corner like that. Well, anyway, first, Dave, let me say that thank you so much for sharing that very emotional and compelling life story with all of us here today. It's amazing the work that the parents do on behalf of advocacy for patients with rare disease. Your story, in some respects, reminds me of a conversation that I had with John Crowley.
Yes.
Who's had 2 kids with Pompe disease. I attended the American College of Clinical Pharmacology 50th anniversary meeting in downtown Chicago last September. John spoke about his life story and how he had a commitment to advance R&D in rare disease, and the rest is history. He started Amicus Therapeutics in the garage of his home in Princeton, New Jersey, which is where I lived for 35 years, and he now has a multi-billion-dollar biotech company whose primary focus is to develop new therapeutics for rare disease. And he started as an attorney and had to learn about the disease and everything that you've done. So I applaud your efforts and all the other parents out there of children with rare disease. So let me say that on behalf of Harmony for Hope, before we take questions, I'd like to thank the Exicure management for their support in allowing us to present to the company employees today. Traditionally, Harmony for Hope has been giving presentations to medical students in Chicago at the various medical schools and also at the Medical College of Milwaukee and other allied health professionals. We usually bring one or two of our rare storytellers with us. This is the very first time we've had the opportunity to present to a life science company. So what's very impressive to me is that when medical students and young scientists can actually hear from the patients themselves or the parents of those patients as to what their life has been like living with a rare disease. We had two, a 19 and a 20-year-old patient present at the Medical College of Wisconsin. We had about 150 people there, medical students, faculty, PhD students, etc. One talked about living with Golden Heart syndrome. The other one talked about life with Loeys-Dietz syndrome, the 30+ odd operations each one of them had, and what it was like to live with that disease. You know, in medical school, you get maybe a few minutes on each disease and you move on to the next topic. You never get the opportunity to hear from a patient or see a patient with a rare disease like that unless you go into a very specialized field of pediatric genetics. So I hope that the scientists at Exicure today felt this to be very worthwhile, and to hear Dave's very compelling story about life with a child with Baden's disease. As a physician scientist myself, I spent 30+ years in R&D and the last 13 years as a consultant to the pharmaceutical industry, and I applaud your efforts at Exicure. I mean, most of my R&D was spent with small molecules and some monoclonal antibodies. What you guys are doing in the spherical nucleic acid space and the application to the treatment of rare diseases like Baden's, Friedreich's ataxia, in the immuno-oncology area is fascinating. And I wish all of you all the best. We thank you so much for the partnership, for the collaboration, and your support. So with that, we can open it up for some questions before Trapper closes with some more tunes. I saw Bob Dylan in the early 60s, you know, when he was a 20-some-year-old guy. And Trapper to me is the Bob Dylan of the 21st century. So we go to Q&A and see if we have any specific questions. Nothing yet has been posted. So if anybody has questions, please go ahead and ask them now.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me all right? This is Leo.
Yes.
Great. No, I think I think there's a nervous energy here. I think everyone probably doesn't want to talk at the same time here, but I know I'll get my video here. I know that, you know, we have representatives here from our company across all of our verticals, you know, from science to clinical and all of it. So you know, we'll see what gets thrown your way here. But you know, just maybe I can kick things off. You know, as I'm looking at your background here with the, you know, the Hope for Bridget, and I do recall the NCL conference in Lombard, which was just great. You know, get an opportunity to hear from hear the patient perspective in the context of, you know, the science of physicians ones. You know, my question for you is, you know, you got to start somewhere, right? And you obviously created, you know, Hope for Bridget, and the story is truly unbelievable. Like what you and your wife did, it doesn't seem humanly possible. So, you know, to say we applaud your efforts is understatement of the century. You know, what's incredibly actionable for us is being able to do things like this, where we engage directly with the patient families. Because when we want to start kicking off science in like the rare genetic disease space, really sort of the first place we start on the research side, is getting like cell lines going that express the mutations that we need to deal with, because we are going at the genetic source of disease. We're not trying to, hit some downstream thing in the hopes of improving, one or more symptoms. So, if you're willing to sort of open up your network of, other families who we can connect with to sort of get that ball rolling, I think from the scientific side, that would be hugely enabling.
Oh, absolutely. We could totally do that. And through our national organization, the BDSRA, they would be willing to help facilitate that too. But yeah, between myself and Tracy Van Houten, who's runs Noah's Hope, is the father of 2 children. I mean, we know just about everybody in the Batten world that we can, we're constantly looking at people and talking to scientists. So yeah, we can actually get you a whole network of people that you want to talk to.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, if if BDSRA is sort of the site one to start things off, no, that would be that's great intelligence. So thank you for that.
Definitely, no problem. I'm making notes right now.
Leo, I wanted to make a comment to one of your opening statements about working very closely with patient advocacy groups. Extremely important and has a massive impact not only on the regulatory approval process and the FDA advisory committee meetings that are called. I hearken back to the early 90s when I was heading clinical development at Rhone-Poulenc Rohr. We were developing the very first drug, a small molecule called Riluzole for patients with ALS. And we worked very closely with the ALS community. When we had the Neuropharmacology FDA Advisory Committee hearing in the early 90s, we had patients lining up in the auditorium at a hotel in Washington with ALS, advocating on our behalf, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, I feel like I'm listening to Ron Bartek here, or another force in the rare disease field. Like we couldn't agree with you more. And so we are very excited to be doing this hand in hand with the patients, as this is just even more essential than any other voice and connected to drug development. So again, we've said it many times before, but keep it up. It's God's work you're doing here.
Leo, I just wanted to interject for a moment. If people are interested in asking questions, they should use the Q&A feature on their screens. I just wanted to interject that.
I see some things pop up every once in a while, and then they disappear very quickly. So here we go.
Hey, Carrie, I'm seeing something coming up in the chat, not from the Q&A. Looks like
a lot of good comments here. Here's one here. Thank you for providing your perspective and your great work. Dave, can you share with us what things people that do not have a family member with Batten rare disease take for granted or should be aware of?
Ooh. People that don't, these are people that do not have a family.
Yeah, if you don't have a child or a family member with a rare disease, maybe, but your life experience has been so different from many, what kinds of things should people that don't have a child with rare disease, what should they take for granted or be aware of?
Our biggest thing was when we would be going around town or going somewhere, people would look, stare, and not ask a question. And people that have a kid with rare disease, if you walk up to them and you ask them a question, hey, I see your daughter, or your son or whatever, and you just ask about it and show that you care, and is there anything you can do? I mean, that's the thing that we have noticed when we had Bridget going around, because we had big wheelchairs and things, and she's throwing a fit, shaking or whatever, and people just would just kind of ignore and give you looks or whatever, and we just to us it was normal. We're like, whatever. but that, I mean, other things that they could do, I got to think about. I got to think about that for a while.
There's a couple other questions popped up.
Absolutely to that question.
Have you seen an increase in awareness of the disease by doctors in recent years?
Absolutely. So we have another family that had a son who passed away from Elmhurst, and he actually saw our first neurologist that we saw that we weren't happy with, and weren't happy with where we were going. And he was diagnosed very quickly. And I said I didn't see anybody inside of a year. I forgot about this. He got diagnosed probably after his first or second seizure. And the reason he got diagnosed is because his doctor was given a letter from our doctor at Rush and said, hey, the patient that you used to have that we have down here now, this is what she has, and this is how we found it, and this is what we look for. And sent him that letter. He got that letter. He obviously remembered that letter when he saw this new patient come in, and he went, let's try this. And sure enough, it was a seal and Tibetan child. So absolutely, awareness has gotten out there. Our national organization, the BDSRA, does a thing called Hospitals of Excellence or something like to that effect, where they've gone out to specific hospitals like Children's in Ohio is a big one where they're doing a lot of baton research and stuff. So facilities of excellence, I think they call it. So they're putting these plans out to all these neurologists and all these doctors and stuff to really get Batten disease awareness out there. And with all of our connections of all the people in the Chicagoland area that we know, and the Downers Grove area and Barrington area, it's raised awareness, and doctors hear it, and we've told our story many, many times on the radio, on TV, and yeah, it gets out there. The awareness has definitely changed since we started. When we first started, it was very little, and now it's grown immensely, which is great. That's the whole reason for having a foundation.
Couple more questions here. Enzyme replace. Let's go to this one. Enzyme replacement therapy is dosed every 2 weeks. What kind of a burden does that place on the patient and the patient's families? And can the infusions be performed in the home, or do the patients have to travel to a healthcare facility?
Currently, they have to travel to a healthcare facility, and they don't do this everywhere. Rush does it. There's up in Minnesota, there's hospitals. So I'm just going by the Chicagoland kind of area. We know people in Indiana, Southern Illinois, Wisconsin, they were all having to come to Rush. The one in Wisconsin can now go to Minneapolis, and the one in Indiana can now go to Indianapolis because that is just open